everyone. This is Subhasmita from IIT Indore. I am a PhD scholar here. Welcome you all to the first tutorial session of Genome Editing and Engineering. Today we'll be discussing some questions based on the lecture series of week 1. Okay, so let's move to our first question. Who coined the term gene? So options are Mendel, Johansen, Watson and Crick, Alfred Hersey. So try to answer it on your own. Then we'll discuss. So moving to the explanation part, answer is Johansen. That is William Ludwig Johansen coined the term gene in early 20th century. While we know that Johansen has coined the term gene, so we need to also know about the contribution of other scientists also. So Gregor Mendel, through his breeding experiments with bees, proposed that there were two factors for each basic trait and one factor was inherited from each parent. So factor is the term coined by Mendel and gene is the term coined by Johansen. No need to confuse factor and gene. Uh, Although factor has been named as gene in 20th century, but if question is asked like who coined the term factor or who coined the term gene, then we don't need to be confused. Then James Watson and Francis Crick discovered the double helix, the twisted ladder structure of DNA in 1953, and Hersey and Martha Church were able to demonstrate that DNA was transferred from bacteriophages to bacteria in 1952, who discovered that confirmed that DNA as the bearer of genetic information. Through his experiments with S35 labeled and P32 labeled protein. So if we are discussing about gene and genome, so we need to be clear about these terms. So gene is the basic unit heredity passed from parent to child. Genes are made up of sequences of DNA and are arranged one after another at specific location on chromosomes in the nucleus of cell. Okay, and they contain information for specific proteins that lead to the expression of a particular physical character such as eye color, hair color, or tall or dwarfness or something else in a cell. So, and genome is a complete set of genetic information in an organism. It provides all of the information of the organism requires to function. So genome is basically a haploidy, diploidy nature of an organism, while gene is the basic unit of heredity, which transcription and translation leads to production of proteins, and this protein is specifically responsible for a particular function inside a cell. And thereby gene and genomes are correlated, but we don't need to be confused between gene and genome. Okay, fine. Let's move to our next question. That is, histones are highly basic proteins found in eukaryotes, prokaryotes, both eukaryotes and prokaryotes, and plants. Okay. Take your time and try to answer. Fine. Moving to the explanation part. This histone is a basic protein generally found in the eukaryotes only, not prokaryotes. In prokaryotes, there is one protein called HU protein that functions same as this histone in eukaryote. And it is a protein that provides structural support for a chromosome. Each chromosome contains a long molecule of DNA which must fit into the cell nucleus. To do that, the DNA wraps around complexes of histone proteins, giving the chromosome a more compact shape. That means if you look at this figure at the right hand side, there is a chromosome, and if we unwind this chromosome, then we will find the chromatin. What is the chromatin? Chromatin is the combination of nucleosomes. Then comes to nucleosome. Nucleosome, it contains one DNA, number of histones. So you can see here the histones having a tail part and octamer shape. Octamer means there are histone proteins like H2A, H2B, H3 and H4. They combine together to form a histone tetramer, and two tetramers combine to form one histone octamer. And this is the open chain form. If the DNA is present like this, that means here transcription can occur, and it is called open chromatin. And this open chromatin is also called euchromatin. While in this case, you see that DNA is wrapped inside the histone, where some part of the DNA or the gene which can't be transcribed is called the closed chromatin, or you can say as it is heterochromatin. So this is the difference between euchromatin and heterochromatin. So fine. So chromatin is nothing but the combination of nucleosomes, and nucleosomes are nothing but combination of histone and DNA. I guess it is clear now. Because histones are basic proteins. The question was like this. So why it is basic? Because of the amino acid lysine and arginine present in this. This lysine and arginine are basic amino acids which leads to the basic character of histones. If some acidic and amino acid may be present, then that will lead to the acidic character. Okay, fine. Then next, move to our next question, that is mostly prokaryotic and eukaryotic chromosomes are. Options are both linear, both circular, prokaryotic linear, eukaryotic circular, prokaryotic circular, or eukaryotic linear. Try to answer yourselves. Okay, so answer is prokaryotic circular and eukaryotic linear. How? We'll discuss. Here it is a prokaryotic organism. It is a cell of a prokaryotic organism, and this is an eukaryotic organism cell. And these prokaryotic cells have single circular chromosome attached to the cell membrane, while eukaryotic cells contain linear chromosomes within the nucleus. Okay. So what is the difference? So you can visualize here, or you can see here, that this prokaryotic chromosome, it is attached at one point of the cytoplasm. It has no membrane bound organelle. So at one part of cytoplasm, this DNA or the genetic material of the prokaryotic organism attached to the part, and it is called nucleoid. While in case of eukaryotic organisms, it is present inside the nucleus, and nucleus is a membrane bound structure or organelle. And this DNA is called linear DNA. It is highly compacted with the help of histone proteins, as we have discussed in the previous slide. So histone proteins help in the binding of DNA to make it a compact shape. Okay, let's discuss more about the prokaryotic chromosome and eukaryotic chromosome. First thing, many prokaryotes contain a single circular chromosomes, while eukaryotes contain multiple linear chromosomes. That means eukaryotes generally have multiple linear chromosomes. That means we humans have 22 sets of somatic chromosomes and one set of sex chromosomes, and all the chromosomes are linear in shape, while prokaryotic organisms only contain a single circular chromosome. Okay. Next, prokaryotic chromosomes are condensed in the nucleus via DNA supercoiling and the binding of various architectural proteins. Means, as we discussed in the previous slide, prokaryotic organisms don't have membrane-bound organelles. That's why the genetic material takes a part of the cytoplasm and becomes condensed at that part is called nucleoid. And some proteins like HU protein helps in the binding of this DNA and make it a compact shape. While in eukaryotic chromosomes, the condensed chromosome means they are present inside a membrane bound nucleus via histones. Means histones helps in binding of this DNA to make a compact set of the chromosome. Because prokaryotic DNA can interact with the cytoplasm, transcription translation occurs simultaneously. So it is quite clear, I guess, because if there is no membrane, so that we don't need to worry about the carrier or transport of the mRNA to the cytoplasm for the ribosomes to carry out translation. So here in the prokaryotic organism, in the cytoplasm only, transcription translation occurs simultaneously. While in eukaryotes, this transcription occurs in the nucleus and translation occurs in the cytoplasm. That means ribosomes are present in the cytoplasm. After the transcription, mRNA moves to cytoplasm and then there only translation happens and protein production happens. Okay. Next, most prokaryotes contain only one copy of each gene, that is they are haploid. Okay. So we just discussed about gene and genome. So I guess it's not a problem for all of you. So haploidy nature or diploidy nature, that depends upon the organism, and in case of prokaryotes they are generally haploid, and in case of eukaryote they are generally diploid in nature. Like in case of human, we contain or we have 22 sets of somatic chromosomes, means one set means two copies of each gene. Okay, so that's why it's called diploid. If any organism has three copies of each gene, that it will be called as triploid or tetraploid, like that. Okay. Next, non-essential prokaryotic genes are commonly encoded or extra chromosomal plasmids. That means plasmids are present in prokaryotic organisms for other purposes like food storage or survival from harsh environments or like this. But in case of eukaryotic organism, we don't have plasmids, we just have organized operands like lag operand or galactose operand, like that. In case of lag operand also, you might also know that it contains a number of or set of organized genes that leads to the breakdown of lactose. That means maintaining a certain level of homeostasis in the cell. Okay. In prokaryotic organisms, the genomes are efficient and compact, containing little repetitive DNA. Okay. In eukaryotic organisms, it contains large amounts of non-coding and repetitive DNA. Fine. So the chromosomes of prokaryotic organisms, they don't contain or very little have this repetitive DNA, because the size of the chromosome is already big as comparison to the size of the organism. So it needs to fit inside the little space. That's why it don't contain much repetitive DNA. While in case of eukaryotic or gene chromosomes, they contain a lot of non-coding and repetitive DNA. Earlier, it is called as junk DNA, but now we our scientists have found lot of uses of this repetitive and non-coding DNAs. Fine. I guess everyone has clear their concept about prokaryotic chromosomes and eukaryotic chromosomes. Fine. Next, move to the next slide. That is, the first recombinant DNA molecule was created by Herbert Boyer, Stanley Cohen, Paul Borg, Warmer Albert. Please take your time. Okay. So, Herbert Boyer discovered recombinant DNA or gene splicing technology, which has led to numerous life-saving medical advances. Now I guess you have know the answer. So, what is a recombinant DNA? So, recombinant DNA is nothing but the combination of DNA of two species. Okay, if say for example, we have two species and we want to combine the gene or DNA of gene of interest of those two species into a single organism and produce a hybrid DNA, that will be called as a recombinant DNA. Okay, and Stanley Cohen, along with Molantani was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1986 for the isolation of nerve growth factor and the discovery of epidermal growth factor. While Paul Borg, with the aid of Lamraphage, was able to insert the SP40 virus gene into the bacterium and awarded the Nobel Prize in 1980. While Werner Erber discovered restriction enzymes which cut DNA molecules at palindromic sites. Okay, so now you got the term recombinant DNA, and another term also comes here, that is restriction enzymes and palindromic sites. So what are these? We'll be discussing in next slides. Okay. Okay. The first type 2 restriction enzyme, HIN2, was identified from Escherichia coli, Haemophilus influenzae, Helicobacter pylori, or Bacillus subtilis. Please take your time. Okay. Uh, so restriction enzymes are enzymes generally cuts the DNA sequence. Okay. DNA sequence means it has nucleotides and base pairs, so it generally cuts the base pairs or between sorry, it generally cuts between two base pairs inside the DNA. So it is called restriction endonuclease. There are two types of nucleases, that is endonuclease and exonuclease. Exonuclease means if the enzyme cuts the DNA at the 3-day site or 5-day site, then it will be called exonuclease. And if that enzyme cuts the DNA at a or between the restriction site or particular particular gene of interest, then that is called endonucleases, and it is also called restriction endonucleases or restriction enzymes, because it cuts at a particular restriction sites only, not anywhere else. Fine. Then this HIN2 is named after the organism Haemophilus influenza, and this D stands for the strain of the bacteria. Fine. The first three letters denote the organism in which the enzyme was discovered, and the fourth letter comes from the specific strain of bacteria. Okay. So HIN2 just makes blunt ends. Blunt ends means, as you can see here, it is cutting at or between the restriction site and don't create any overhangs. So that's why it is called blunted. If after the cutting of restriction enzyme, there is you will find a base pair overhang, that will be called a sticky end cutting. Fine. If there is no overhang of base pairs, then it will be called as blunt end. And if there is overhang of base pairs, then it will be called as sticky end. Okay, and no need to be worried about this HIN2, EcoR1, which organism it came from or like that, because its name suggests only the which organism it has been from. Like HIN, that means Haemophilus influenza, and D, it is the strain of the bacteria. Okay, fine. I guess it is clear for everyone. Next, move to the next question. Type 2 restriction enzyme has two identical subunits, two different subunits, three different subunits, or only one subunit. Which one it will be? Okay. As I have already discussed about the restriction enzyme, that it is a nuclease that cuts the DNA at a specific restriction site. So there are different types of this restriction enzymes, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So depending upon their nucleus structure, recognition pattern and cleavage site, they have been divided like this. For type 1, this nucleus structure is multimer or heterotrimer. That means it has 3 subunits and they are different from each other. While in case of type 2, it is homodimer. That means it has two subunit and they both are identical. While in case of type 3, it also contains two subunit, but it depends upon, I think it is heterodimer because it has two subunit and they are different from each other. Okay, I'll rectify this in the next class. The recognition pattern of type 1 has two sides. That means in any orientation it can cut. While in case of type 2, it is small, 4 to 8 base pair long and usually palindromic. Palindromic sequences are those sequences which can be read as same from 3 days to 5 days end or 5 days to 3 days end. For example, a word that is madam, M-A-D-A-M. If we read it from left to right, it will be madam. And if we read it from right to left, then it also will be madam. That's why it is called a palindromic word. Like that, sequences are also palindromic in case of type 2 restriction enzyme, that if we read it from 3 days to 5 days end and 5 days to 3 days end, then it will be same as in both the cases. Okay, so that's why it's called palindromic sequence. In case of type 3, there are two sides in head-to-head orientation and they are non-palindromic. Okay, in type 4, it has weak specificity. Cleavage site of type 1, it has variable distance from recognition site and non-specific cleavage. While in case of type 2, these cleavage sites can be divided like type 2P and type 2S. In case of type 2P, the cleavage is done within the sequence, but while in the type 2S, the cleavage is done outside the recognition site. In case of type 3, cleavage of one strand or nicking activity, that is 24 to 25 base pair, is from recognition site. Okay, and type 4 restriction enzyme cuts only methylated DNA. That means epigenetically modified methylated DNA has been cut only by the type 4 restriction enzyme. Now move to which cofactor or they need for the energy purpose. Like for type 1 restriction enzyme, it is ATP, Mg2 plus ion and SAM. While in case of type 2, it is magnesium only. While type 3, ATP, magnesium and SAM. While in case of type 4, it will be ATP and GTP. I guess you have clear your concept about type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4 restriction enzyme. So what will be our answer? This is A, that is two identical subunits. Okay. Next move to our next question, that is M13 bacteriophage vector contains double-stranded filamentous DNA, double-stranded circular DNA, single-stranded filamentous DNA or single-stranded filamentous RNA. So basically it is asking about the genetic material of M13 bacteriophage. Is it RNA or DNA or what type of DNA or RNA? Okay, take your time. Fine, let's move to the explanation part, what it is. So there are two types of bacteriophages are generally used for this gene cloning, and they are lambda-phase and M13 phase. And both lambda-phase and M13 bacteriophages can infect E. coli, while lambda-phase contains a double-stranded linear DNA genome. On the other hand, M13 contains single-stranded filamentous DNA. This is the structure of this filamentous DNA of M13 bacteria. This is a whole structure is a M13 bacteriophage and this is the DNA only. This is a purple one, filamentous DNA. So the answer will be single-stranded filamentous DNA. Fine. Next move to our next question, that is cryotoxin is produced by, options are Bacillus thuringiensis, Bacillus subtilis, Pseudomonas aeruginosa or Escherichia coli. The explanation will be BT crops are generally genetically engineered plants that contain the endospore or crystal. So what are BT crops? That means Bacillus thuringiensis genetically modified crops. Means in which plants Bacillus thuringiensis is gene is genetically modified, and that's using that organism these plants are engineered is called BT crops. Best example of this BT crop is BT cotton. Okay, and it contains a endospore or crystal, and this crystal is referred to as cryotoxin, and it is a protein formed during the sporulation of some BT strains and aggregates from crystals. Such cryotoxins are toxic to specific species of insects belonging to orders Lepidoptera, Coleoptera, Hymenoptera, Diptera and Nematoda. Okay, so these are the orders of insects for which cryotoxin is highly toxic. Okay, so I think it is clear. So answer is Bacillus thuringiensis. So let's move to a little bit discussion part to about conventional breeding and genetic engineering. Why we are opting genetic engineering over conventional breeding, and what are the methods and how it is been done. Okay, so our target or our destination or our goal is to crops to be modified for improvement of nutrient. Okay, we want to develop a crop which has nutrient efficient. Like if I want to engineer a plant with fruits having high amount of vitamin A. Okay, for example, like that. So for that, if we move to the conventional breeding, it will be collection of germplasm, then hybridization, and hybridization includes crossing, mutation, introgation. That's I think you might have heard about these words because Mendel has done this. In his P breeding experiments, he did these experiments for conventional breeding. In case of genetic engineering, we need to identify the gene or genes of interest, and then we need to modify the genes via antisense or RNAi. Okay. And then move to the creation of genetic variation. Next, selection of superior recombinants and evolution using different types of markers. Then we can find the crop with improved micronutrient. For conventional breeding, it will be direct leads to the seed distribution, but in case of genetic engineering, it will lead to seed pass through various regulatory requirements before distribution. If we talk about the genetically engineering plants and their fruits or vegetables or anything that might be allergic or some kind of problem to different organisms or human species also. That's why it need to be passed through several regulatory requirements in scientific way. Okay, so this is the difference between conventional breeding and genetic engineering. Fine, let's move to our next question. That is, BT plants are designed to control Lepidopteran pests, weeds, bacterial infection, fungal infection. Which one it will be? BT stands for Bacillus thuringiensis genetically modified plants, and they are generally used or designed to control the answer is Lepidopteran pests. Okay, as we have seen in this slide and also discussed that this cryotoxin is very toxic for this kind of insects. For example, are caterpillars or moths. Okay, explanation will be how BT plants kill the insect pests. This figure shows how in a layman language we can understand this this BT plant is helping us and how it kills the insect, not in a scientific or biochemical method. I'm just talking to you to understand the basic concept behind it. First, these engineered plants make BT proteins, that is CRY, cryotoxin, and BIP toxin, and these toxins are present in the leaf of the plant. When the larva eats the plant, it digests the BT proteins and releases toxins that bind to larval receptors, that is cryotoxin and BIP toxin binds to the larval receptor, and this binding leads to the rupture of cells forming a hole, and the larva soon dies after that. Okay, so this is a simple method of how these BT plants help us in controlling the insects. Okay, fine. Next, move to our next question, that is ORIC is replication origin, transcription origin, translation origin, or cell division origin? And the answer is replication origin. Because most bacterial chromosomes are circular, likewise we discussed it that bacterial chromosomes are prokaryotic chromosomes and they are circular and contain a single origin of replication, that is called ORIC. Fine. And I guess we have discussed more about the prokaryotic chromosomes and eukaryotic chromosomes, so we don't need to talk about it again. Fine. So that's all for this session. I have just taken 10 questions only and discussed with you which will give you some point of view how to solve your assignments in this week. And if you have any questions, then you can ask me in the comment section also. And we are also having class on next Monday 6 to 8 p.m. Then we will also discuss about which is your doubt and how we can solve this, or we'll discuss more about the week 2 lecture series and different questions also. Fine. Okay, thank you for listening.